board has provided sound and consistent financial leadership for many years now. We all appreciate his guidance and look forward to working with him in the future as we continue to navigate the redevelopment of Clinton. I think when we look at the larger picture, there was no one more knowledgeable or experienced in town government than Mr. Ward, particularly in the areas of financial management, budgeting, and planning. So I just wanted to say thank you to Mike. I know he's tied up. I didn't want to delay it, but I just wanted to get that out. And also, I want to thank Bill for his 12 years of service. It's been a lot of fun, and not just on the select board, but your whole public life in town has done a lot. And I'm going to miss you, and I think a few others will. So thank you for the time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here for public comment? Moving on, next is review of minutes for May 19th, 2021. What's the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve the minutes as presented, Mr. Chairman.
I'll second the motion.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0. Next up, Treasurer Collector John Kittredge to discuss our general obligations bond report. Thanks for coming out.
What's that?
Thanks for coming out.
Oh, thanks for having me. Appreciate it. I'm also not a big speechwriter, but I thought I'd put some thoughts to words, so we have to recall them. First of all, the bond issue is right here, all the signature pages. I'll leave it with Mr. Ward. He can distribute it. If we could get them signed tonight, I appreciate it. There is time limits. We're talking millions of dollars. It's got to get to Hilltop Securities by June 8th. It has to get to the DOR. It has to go through all these things. So time is of the essence. And I've learned that in the first few issues we've done that, they're right on me. Like, where's the paperwork? I'm like, oh, slow down. So, but in any case, so I wrote a statement. Today is a great day to be a Clintonian, especially from a financial perspective. I am here to tell you the town's financials and credit worthiness are extremely stable, solvent, and something to be proud of. We are here tonight to sign a bond issue, loan documents totaling nearly $7 million. Some uses up to 20 years at an astounding annual percentage rate of 1.31%. This money will be used to finance town-approved projects such as the new fire truck, water system improvements, sewer system studies, school building repairs, state-of-the-art software systems, park restorations, and improvements. All of these projects were approved at town meetings over the last 4 fiscal years. In addition, with the support of our town administrator, our independent financial advisors, Hilltop Securities, and other financial officers in the town, we made a transition to Standard & Poor's Global as our financial rating bureau after many decades of being underwritten by Moody's Financial. When towns issue bonds, which is debt, investors need a source to understand the risk associated with buying these bonds. The 3 rating bureaus are Moody's, S&P, and Fitch. The town pays for this service, and investors weigh heavily on how these agencies rate towns and cities. In the last few months of putting this issue together, our financial advisors believed our A1 rating, A+, comparable in the S&P company, was low, and advised us to consider moving to S&P as they weighed the overall management of the town, extremely important in addition to the financials. Mr. Ward made the call to set up the rating call with S&P with the hopes that the result would benefit the town. We had that 90-minute conference call on May 18th with myself, the town accountant, and Mr. Ward. We were given a 3-page letter with specific areas of concern that the S&P analysts would focus. Mr. Ward set up a dry run a week earlier to review the issues and have us prepare responses. On the day of the conference, I was particularly impressed with the amount of paperwork Mr. Ward had spread out over the entire Selectmen's chamber board table, being that table. Myself and the town accountant participated in the call. However, Mr. Ward handled 75% of the questions asked of the town. He was brilliant and had an intelligent, educated response to every question they threw at him. Mr. Ward is a wealth of knowledge in all aspects of Clinton Finance. In the end, S&P came back a week later with a credit rating of AA+. To give you an idea how dramatic a rate change this was, we moved up 3 levels from an upper medium grade to a high grade risk. We went from A+ to AA- to AA to AA+ in 1 year. The only rate above us now is AAA. In comparison to other communities, this new rating puts us on par with Northborough, Southborough, Berlin, Holden, West Boylston, East Long Meadow, for example. We are now rated higher than Boylston, Lancaster, Leominster, and Stowe. Kudos to the financial officers of the town, and kudos to Michael Wood for pulling this off. You may ask, what does this mean to the town in terms of real dollars? I asked our advisors, who responded by saying this rate would save the town at least 20 basis points on the issue, which could exceed $250,000 in savings over the course of the loan. In addition to bragging rights for the town, we also refunded, as part of the $7 million, refunded as a fancy way of saying refinanced the balance of our 2005 and 2009 existing school and landfill bonds, and will save an additional $289,000 over the next 7 years. I quote part of S&P's 6-page rating letter, which states, the rating reflects the town's consistent financial performance with nearly 5 consecutive years of surplus performance through fiscal year 20 and an anticipated surplus in fiscal year 21, and very strong debt and contingent liability profile. We consider Clinton's economy very strong. Is that any question?
Questions from the board?
Just a couple comments, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, in addition, and thank you, Mr. Conley, for years of service. I heard that from Dave.
I couldn't repeat what you said in a better manner of explaining what this means to us. Other than to say, this is huge for the town. This has been long since I've been hanging around here in this building almost 50 years, and this is a huge, huge accomplishment for the town. And as you said, there's a lot of people involved in getting us to this point. The treasurer's office, the assessor's office, the town, this board, and adopting policies that it has over the years, the finance committee. But as you said, this has been a passion of the town administrators for a long time. And it's kind of dry stuff. I was never really enamored with this over the years. Our rating was what it was. But Michael was always challenged by this over the years, and he deserves an awful lot of credit for getting us to this point. Because when you're talking about $250,000 here, $250,000 there on this bond issue, this isn't our only bond issue going forward. We'll have other borrowing. We've got the school project coming up. This is the most impactful thing for the taxpayers of Clinton and the budget of the town of Clinton than anything that I've been part of or been aware of all these years. And as John and David both said, the town administrator deserves an awful lot of credit for it because he stuck with it. It was frustrating. I know I've had conversations with him over the years. It was frustrating. We did everything right, and still didn't get up. And now it's finally paying off, and he certainly does. Everybody involved deserves credit for this, but Mike deserves an awful lot more. So I just wanted to second the previous speakers.
Yeah, and it was somewhat of a gamble. I mean, we paid $15,000 for this rating, so it wasn't like we could go to S&P and say, "Oh my God, we can't go with that." We can go back to Moody's. I mean, we could, but we'd be blowing $15,000. So it was a pet peeve of Michael's. I think he was discouraged over Moody's over the last several years. And when we got this rating, I don't think he believed it was coming. And actually, I didn't either. I was told we should jump 1, possibly 2, and we went up 3, which was incredible. So good for the town.
So thank you to everyone involved in getting this.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's the power on us. It just goes to show that sticking to what we believe is right through good times and bad. The government takes a while, but that incremental progress that we've been making eventually pays off for everybody. And I think my own is involved in this. So, like you said, it's great. Good. Thanks.
Thank you.
Sign that before we leave.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
being on the marketing subcommittee, I think there's good things going on a lot. This is probably one of the best things since I've been on the board. This is the best thing I've heard, and it's, all my hard work and everything. So we should just think about some ways, I know this will probably be in the paper or something, but we should think of some ways of marketing subcommittee to make sure that the community really understands this accomplishment, and like what it's going to mean for the town, and how our Mike and some of the other people at the town hall work to get this, because as Selectman Connolly noted, this has been something that's been in the works for a while, so it's a huge compliment. I think that's outstanding. Thank you.
Next up, we're going to talk about special annual town meeting. Mr. Regano?
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
So what are our thoughts on town meeting? I'll give you mine and then take it from there. In light of the warrant, which is 45 articles, and the tendency for people to walk out of meetings sometimes and things like that, I would recommend that we keep to the COVID quorum, I guess what you call it, 15 at the start of it, because that's a special town meeting, and then 20 for the bulk of the meeting. And I realize there's some very important things to talk about. There's some housekeeping things. There might be a few controversial things, but it's just it's going to be a very, very long night. And I for one, don't want to worry about halfway through people walking out and someone challenging the quorum number, and I'm still new at this. So that's my thoughts. Anyway.
I think having such a low quorum threshold will encourage people to show up. We're spending an awful lot of money on Monday night, so if people truly care about it, they'll be here. And I bet you we come close to the standard quorums for this meeting.
We had 168 last year.
Right.
And we needed 20, and we had 168. So that's pretty good.
That's a motion, Mr. Chairman.
Motion made, seconded, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0.
Great. I just want to say again, thank you to Bill Conley. I know this is Bill Conley parade tonight, but Bill and I go back many, many years, and he has always been a strong advocate for the town of Clinton, and you always knew where he stood on things. He was, I think Bill would agree, he was not a good politician. He was straight out, and as I think many people agree, that we certainly need far less politicians in the world today than what we have. So, strong advocate, and I wish him the very best. Tremendous background, and he's helped this town so much. And I don't think we've seen the last of him, but that's another time. Thank you very much. I'll see you.
Thank you, Mr. Regano.
Good night.
Next up, good news training, Board of Health. Today, my flow chart on the spreadsheet, we hit zero for the second time since I've been keeping track. We were on a day in August, I think. Yeah. My record, so please keep going.
I hope so.
Yeah.
We had almost 1,600 cases today. We had no known active cases at the time. Just been getting better than that, so I'm pretty happy with that. Just bringing up the data with the governor's orders, effective the 29th. The more masks if you're fully vaccinated. They do recommend you wear one if you're not. But other than that, it's pretty much all we have.
I mean, we got just thinking about time, we're going to go honor system on that. I mean, that's pretty much where we are, right?
I think you pretty much have to. I mean, other than that, you have to have people bring the vaccination.
Sure,
shots.
yeah, I'm not going to. And the state of emergency is lifted on the 15th, is that right?
Correct.
So as far as permitting for town hall use or things like Old Home Day or fireworks, as far as you're concerned, are we back to normal?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, after the 15th, it's actually out of our hands.
Okay,
The pandemic, everything falls.
Pretty much to you guys.
great.
So we're fine with it.
Okay.
I mean, we were like this in the summer last year. Eventually, we got down to single digits,
Yep.
and it went well all summer. Hopefully, it stays the same. But as far as governor's orders and restrictions on the 15th, that's the end of it.
Yep.
So I'd like to follow along with his recommendations.
Great. One last thing we had on here was we were thinking about for downtown events. We've been Mr. Duffy and the board have been talking about things, a maker's market or a farmer's market or a beer truck weekend or a food truck weekend. Those permits still come through you, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We can do it any way you want, whether you want to do a one-day permit and not charge anybody. We've done seasonal ones for half price, and a full one, it's $50.
Yep.
For a full one for year round. So if the events are going to continue through the summer, it'd probably be wise to do that. But we'll work with anyone. If they get their paperwork in on a Monday or a Tuesday, they'll be fully approved by the end of the week. It's not that big a process.
Great. Yep.
So for the youth sports, are we able to go back to pre-COVID as far as if we can post a funding tournament in town? And we can always keep the information on it if we did allow it available outside that. Approval wouldn't be required ahead of time? Is that?
Yeah, effective, like on the 15th, you don't have to go through us for it.
Okay.
So right now, we have rosters and stuff like that. I mean, it wouldn't be as big a deal. But after the 15th, we're pretty much out of the picture as far as approvals and stuff like that. It's back to normal. Hopefully it stays that way. It is great.
Any other questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman, if I may,
Please.
a year ago, this thing dropped on us like nothing else I've ever experienced in my time in town. And it was primarily dropped in the Board of Health's lap. And they've been at a lot of other people have helped get the town through this, but the Board of Health has been at the forefront. And I just want to express my appreciation and thanks to Steve, the entire Board of Health, and their staff for the challenges that you guys faced were significant, and I appreciate everything you did for this town. Thanks,
Bill. Couldn't have done it without Tom and John and Alice and our nurse. They worked 7 days a week. They took turns Saturday, Sunday. Did a great job. So without them, we wouldn't have got through this.
Yep.
So I'll definitely pass it along.
Yeah, I'll echo that. I mean, other than my wife and Mike, maybe I think I talked to Steve as much as anybody over the past year. And there was no playbook for this. We were all, the virus itself changes. The state and federal guidance changed. And we did the best we could to try and keep the town safe and as open as possible. And I know a lot of people were frustrated. We were very frustrated too. But now that we're here, I'm really proud of the work you guys did. It was really the hardship duty and completely above and beyond what you were expected for that role. So thank you. I'll get back to my soapbox. This is probably the last time. The zero today is not a license to go and do things that we're not supposed to do. It's because we did the things we were supposed to do. So I will encourage anybody who, if you haven't been vaccinated, that's why I'm not wearing my mask. I was clean on Sunday. So please, it's probably going to come back in some way over the winter. We'll be better prepared for it then. But let's keep doing what we've been doing all along.
All right.
And we're going to have a great summer and hopefully a great fall. So please.
Just personally being an employee of the school system, I think all the work with the Board of Health, school committee, Dr. Meyer put together, Clinton really was a front runner on a lot of the planning and the models. Spent a lot of time in school this year in person, where there's a lot of districts that
had a good plan up there, Mr. Myers and the principals. By the end of it, when they had a kid test positive, you got a full report, all the names, contacts, teachers, and everyone was notified. So they did an outstanding job. It was a work in progress, but we got through it, and we'll be fine. But again, they put a lot of work into that too. There's a, with the pickups and drop-offs and outdoor meals, and they had their hands full as well. But like you said, we got to send the kids back to school, which was our goal. So that's what was most important.
Anything else? I'm not going to say I hope I don't see you soon, but enjoy it, right?
No, thanks for your service.
Keep in touch.
I couldn't have done it without you. Hopefully you see you around again sometime.
Okay.
Thanks, Steve.
What help, maybe.
Oh, there we go. We're going to table the next item, which brings us to Community and Economic Development Director Phil Duffy.
Good evening, members of the board.
Hello.
Here today to seek your authorization to file an application to the Massachusetts Brownfields Redevelopment Fund for a project at 329 High Street, Jean's Towing. We are looking to do all the necessary reporting, testing, soil removal, and remediation and legal work to bring that site to what's called a closed site, which means that in terms of its environmental liabilities, it's not a liability. It's a known thing. Title is clear. If there's an AUL, that is a legal document that is attached to the title. But the site is otherwise ready to be sold, unencumbered by environmental concerns. The amount the number of the grant is kind of in flux. The numbers came in a little higher as we're working with Scott Parker, our LSP, on this. We're looking to bring it down to a range where our ask is something in the area of $100,000, which is kind of the sweet spot for this application. Our number right now between 157.5 and 127.5, 129.5. So in order to help make this happen, I'd like to ask this board if they would authorize me to submit this application, but also if you would consider transferring roughly $20,000 that is remaining from the contingency we had on the 172 Sterling Street project, and supplement that with approximately $15,000 so we can declare a $35,000 contribution to this project. As a recap, we've already received about $130,000 in EPA funding to do the up to phase 2 analysis of the site, and we also received a $40,000 legislative earmark to remove soils in the summer of 2019. That's all been done without the town spending a penny. If this is an investment that gets us over the finish line and gets us ready to push this out as a viable market proposition, I'm asking the board and also to authorize those funds from the Community Development Fund. And if you have any questions, of course, I'd be happy to describe the process or any questions about it.
Any questions?
Mr. Chairman, look, you just heard, so obviously, I mean, we've worked on a surplus subcommittee, we've talked about this, and this would be critical to Gene's property. If we can get enough for this, we can clean the property up, make it more attractive to a potential developer. But I mean, definitely in favor of that. Can you just spell out, so I was trying to follow, in addition to approving, applying for the brownfield program, you mentioned like transferring $20,000, I couldn't hear all of it.
Well, if they should authorize me to utilize $35,000 to Community Development Fund.
Gotcha.
When we applied for the, let's say, the Sterling Street grant, at that time, the board authorized a contingency of $26,000. We ended up using a little over $6,000 of that, so there's $19,900 remaining from that commitment, which looks like it'll be unspent. So it's one way to look at it is we're just moving it from one dirty site to another.
And the purpose of the $35,000 would be the same purpose as what the brownfield program would be if we were to get it?
Yeah, quite frankly, given the market value of the site, I'm concerned that the funding agency would look askance at asking basically to take something for nothing without the town having any skin in the game. Okay. In short, it's that's the insight.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the request for the Economic Development Office to apply for the brownfield program, and also that we free up $35,000 from the community development fund.
I'll second that motion.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0. Thank you.
On that note, this application requires a certification of vote, so when in the Selectmen's office, you'll find a copy called Record of Vote. If you can each sign your name in the in favor column, the town clerk can certify it tomorrow.
Terrific.
And just want to say thanks to Bill Conley as well.
You're welcome.
All right.
Thank you.
The Traffic Committee met on Friday and considered some business for the board to consider, I guess. Michael, do you, sorry, it's in here. All right. I have notes from this. Do you have the breakdown of the exact recommendations?
Mr. Chairman, I do have a list of the issues that we could just kind of go through, because there were some things on the agenda, but others that members brought up during that meeting. So I kind of listed out the ones that the board would need to address. So
Okay.
the first was parking at the intersection of Prospect Street and White Court. So,
Right, there was some issue with the fire department saying they were having trouble getting down, if park right to the corner. So I think the recommendation was to have no parking for 20 feet, which is the law, 20 feet from the corner. Do you want to do these a la carte or all together? Or how do you want to?
Well, there's some on here that I might be supportive of,
Yep.
some that I might not be, so
Okay.
I'd rather do it individually.
Sure. So the recommendation of the parking committee, the traffic committee, was to install no parking signs from 20 feet from the corner at Prospect Street and White Court. It's a pleasure of the board.
Mr. Chairman, that was supported by the traffic committee?
That was.
I move we approve that recommendation.
I'll second the motion.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, you just said the main reason for this is that the fire department complains that they can't get their trucks on the street?
There's parking right to the corner, apparently. So
Second right to the corner, can't make the swing.
it's a tight street. Any discussion further? Hearing none, all's in favor? Aye. Opposed? 4-0. We declined, sticking with our policy of not handing out individual handicap parking requests. We declined the Oxford Court handicap parking request, encouraging them to talk to Oxford Court about and making sure they have adequate handicap parking there. They have, this was in addition to that, which we've had requests from the past, and that's the traffic committee's policy to date to decline those. I received a complaint from a citizen about handicap parking spaces. Am I on the right one here? Was that Woodruff Plaza, or I'm seeing Terrace Plaza?
yeah, there was one at the down at Terrace Plaza. There was some, I think maybe the fire chief brought up that one.
Okay.
Too. And then the other was about checking handicap parking on an area that was denied. So that's kind of just something internally that we were, it doesn't need board action, it's just something internally that we can follow up on.
Okay.
But just asking on the, that on the Terrace Plaza, just asking if we could maybe contact them, the company, and the owner, and ask them to make sure that they were in compliance with having the spaces properly painted and sectioned off.
Okay. That was recommended by the traffic committee.
Right.
Does that need action by us?
Sure, yeah, I think that was,
My fair.
yeah.
Second.
Motion made, second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all is in favor? Aye. Opposed? 5-0. Parking restrictions on Vale Street at Water Street. The traffic committee supported no parking on the ball field side from the snack shack to the corner. Yep.
Next question.
Yep.
I just don't, I'm not that familiar. How far is that? How far is the snack shack?
Looks like it's about 4 spaces, I guess.
Okay.
That's another one where I think there's no parking on the other side already, but during ball games, if people had parked there, it makes it almost a one-lane street coming in and out. So,
And it's the same concern with the fire department.
yeah, it's, or just regular traffic. I mean, on ball game nights, there's a ton more traffic down there, and the people are coming and going, and it's a bit of a blind turn if you're going, I guess, up the hill. Anyway, there's still parking beyond the snack shack in front of the softball field, and plenty of parking in the back. It's just people default to the easiest thing, and so a lot of people are parking there almost right to the corner and making it a bit treacherous.
Motion to approve the recommendation of the traffic committee.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all is in favor? Aye. Opposed? 5-0. We were also asked about the speed signs that are up, the capability of capturing data to see if they're actually working and slowing traffic down and all. I think the lieutenant, can you refresh my memory there?
Yeah, the superintendent of public works is going to research the current devices. We don't capture the information right now. He wasn't able to be at that meeting on Friday, but he's going to research to see if there's the capability of the current system or if there's an add-on that's needed or some module that's needed. But he doesn't get that information right now, but he's going to research to see if it can be. The police department has a trailer that they move around, and that one does have the ability to capture information, but it's a mobile one and it's kind of big, so they say sometimes when they bring it on narrower streets, it kind of gets in the way of traffic, so that one isn't used as often as the ones that are permanently on the side of the road are much more convenient. So Mr. McGowan's going to look into that issue.
Mr. Chairman, I just
Yes.
have a question on that topic. What type of data are they talking about acquiring? Speeds of cars approaching or actual identifying characteristics of license plate numbers or vehicles?
Yeah, I think it was just the police said it's mostly speed and time of day. So
Not
as
identity of who's doing the driving.
That wasn't my understanding.
Right.
No. I'm not even sure. Is there a camera? Could they
I don't
do that?
believe so.
Yeah, I think the intent.
they could if they wanted to.
Yeah, I wouldn't be in favor of that. No, I don't support that at all. I think that if I remember the request properly, it was just to make sure, if we're still seeing 40s and a 30, then maybe we need to step it up a little bit. So,
Thank you.
And you can get the ones with the, like, police
Slow
control,
down.
with
Oh, yeah.
slow down.
Because I think it's good public education having those signs up, but then the next step is, are they being effective? Are they impacting behavior, which was really the intent, so.
right.
Mr. Chair, so do we own so the police has theirs, and then the DPW has one, and that's the one we're talking about?
Right.
Possibly getting this upgrade. So we already own it, right?
Right.
So if we get this upgrade and it says that it doesn't work, what are we gonna do?
Well, I think that would just inform the police department to maybe,
Not to get another one?
no, to maybe
Step up
pick up enforcement in that
Oh,
area.
okay.
Yeah, I mean, and that's a place. If, like you said, if it's a 30 and it's flashing 35, 40 and people still bombing through there,
Yeah.
then we'll have to step up
Okay.
patrols on there.
Chair?
Yes,
So we're talking about the signs that are up on Chase Street, Water Street.
Berlin Street.
And Berlin Street that are either, they're fixed in position. So those are the ones that, looking at trying to capture data there versus the mobile, it's not a mobile unit that the DPW uses. It's just what DPW install.
they're in the ground, yeah.
Okay. Are these the ones though that like, tell you how fast you're going when you approach the other cars?
So more to come on that. We discussed there's been some activity off of Rogers Field Way, and the committee agreed to support placement of a gate up there, as long as we could work out assurances that public safety and National Grid and anybody who needs access to that either has access to a lockbox or a town key. We also want to run it by Conservation Commission, I think. I have notes here to make sure they're okay with it. So do you think we want to hold off on this, or have we reached out to
Well, I think if the board is supportive, then the board can take that position, and then we can just check with the other agencies to make sure that we, make sure that there's proper access, so.
Just as background, there's been some youthful indiscretion up there and speeding that some neighbors are concerned about. And both police and fire have attested to breaking some things up recently. So if we could put a gate up there to at least slow people down and keep it a little safer up there, the traffic committee thinks that that's the right move here.
Mr. Chairman, if I may. Rogers Field Way was a place where I misspent much of my youth 50 or so years ago, so I sort of understand other generations feeling the same way, but if we need to control the traffic up that area, then probably would be a good idea, subject to the conversations you mentioned with Concom.
Motion?
That's a motion.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? 5-0. Lastly, and this is something the DPW knows about, but some markings for bridge on Main Street are worn off, and the fire department reports that they often see big trucks backing up because they're nervous they're not going to be able to get underneath it. I'm not sure it's the Bridge Diner one. I think it's the one right by Depot Square. Yeah, right. So the DPW knows, and they have to get that painted. But I guess if we wanted to make a motion to nudge them a little bit and get that painted sooner rather than later.
So moved.
I'll give it to Bill since his first last night. Eddie second. Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all's in favor? Aye. Opposed? 5-0. Thank you. There's no administrative business. We have 3 old and new businesses. Selectman DeWalt has brought up a potential change for how we deal with late night liquor license closings.
It just recently came to my attention that we've been asking businesses to submit a letter basically to apply for a Saturday night, staying open until 1 a.m. And I'm just curious, just from a point of convenience, could we, and it's probably a question more for legal counsel too, could we possibly, instead of having them do that once a month, is that something that we could do like once a year and still have the ability to revoke it? Because I know that the police department, if they have an issue with an establishment, they can come to us and we can use that as leverage. We can revoke that. But can we still grant the 1 a.m. opening time on Saturday night and then still have the ability to revoke it if there is some sort of a ongoing issue with the police department? So it's really just a question of can we do this for the sake of convenience for some of the establishment owners so they don't just have to constantly write in once a month to apply for this and then we have to vote on it? Can we just do it, just to start, maybe just do it instead of 1 month, do it for 1 year?
Any thoughts?
You got to have a hearing.
All of a sudden you had an issue, you have to bring them in, you have to have a public hearing before you can revoke it back. Whereas now you're just voting on it, you don't have to do it.
So right now we just don't approve it if there's a problem?
Right.
Approve it one time, if there's a problem, and we don't do it again.
Right now you're doing it periodically. You don't have to approve it if you don't want to. But here, once if you're going to say that's the new time, now you're going to revoke one individual or one license. You're going to have to bring them in. They're entitled to a public hearing before you do that.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, if I may, I support Selectman DeVault's suggestion. In my time here, and I've been told frequently that it's been a long time, I can't recall us ever denying a late night closing. If there's been a problem with a location, there's been other reasons to have a hearing and other reasons to discipline them. So I don't recall us ever denying or revoking a late night closing, and I also believe that traditionally we would try to accommodate someone that forgot to get their application up by saying we're approving the late night closings for this place, this place, this place, and any others that come in subject to the approval of the police chief. That's been what we're doing. So I support what Ed's saying. We certainly can try it. If there's a problem, if it's big enough, we'll have a hearing, or you'll have a hearing and revoke it. I support that. I think it's kind of burdensome to the businesses to keep coming back every month, and I think it would help them do business and us still stay in control.
That being said, I make a motion that we move the monthly approval for Saturday 1 a.m. closings to a annual 1 year approval cycle.
I'll second that motion.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? The only question, when are we due for those again? Will we do the next cycle for July, I guess?
Yeah,
Or
I think
June?
after last weekend, I think it's all pretty much
Oh, yeah, I
wide
guess-
open after that. So whenever they start that, I don't know if how quickly the establishments will want to be open that late, and what their hours will be coming back. As people slowly come back, I don't know. But yeah, so after any time now, they can start asking for it.
So do you think, would that expose us to, if, Bar A comes back in July, Bar B comes back in August, is that going to be a rolling, it's not the clean year that we were looking for?
Yeah, I guess that's the only thing left is when would be the starting date. But I would say that we would just pick a date, and then next year would be that date. I wouldn't want to have to keep track of like separate.
Even if they don't request?
Their license expires and is renewed at the beginning of the year, so it could be accommodated going forward that way. Just it's another part of that license approval.
All right.
So do it for 6 months now until the renewal period, and then do it annually on the calendar year after that.
That's fine. Yeah, I'll amend the motion to do it for a 6-month period and then 12 months at the renewal period.
I'll second the amendment.
We have an amendment and a second. Let's vote on the amendment. Any discussion?
Question.
Yeah.
So if somebody, if an organization doesn't submit it at the beginning of the year, does that mean that they would lose out on the opportunity of say no later, or they can?
I think they could still apply anytime within that year, but then they would, if they applied 6 months in, they would only have 6 months and then they would apply again.
It's for the calendar
Cover the whole year.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? We're voting on the amendment now. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Now, back to the motion, which is now for 6 months to get us through the rest of the calendar year, and then annually from then on. Any discussion or questions on that? Seeing none, all's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0. Thank you, good idea. Selectman Connolly would like to propose some donations from the Civic Fund before the end of the fiscal year.
Mr. Chairman, last year or the year before, we increased the Civic Fund to help support most activities in town, but 3 primary ones that are large events for the community. They suffered last year. They were all canceled, and they may not get up and running again this year, but we have a balance in the Civic Fund that I'm proposing that we award. How much, Mike, how much was the balance? 18. So what did I suggest to you?
That was
Six
five,
for the
4.
fireworks, 5 for Old Home Day, and 4,000 for the Pops concert, and leaving a small balance in the account for anything else that comes up towards the end of the year. So that's my recommendation to the board. I don't even know yet if those 3 activities will be up and running, but it'll be in their war chest. If they have to wait again for another year or not, it'll help them get started when they do want to get started. So that's a motion to award $6,000 to the fireworks program, $5,000 to the Old Home Day, and $4,000 to the Pops concert.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion?
Just a question, so after this money, do we know how much is left?
That would give us
3.
3,000.
Okay.
And, yeah, for the end of the fiscal year, so.
Till June, and then
Yeah.
January 1st, July 1st.
It reloads.
There'd be another 18.5.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all's in favor? Aye. Opposed? 5-0. And lastly, we need a final vote for renewal of the employment agreement with the town accountant, as discussed last meeting in executive session.
Mr. Chairman, this is just an open vote.
Yep.
I move we approve the contract for the town accountant that we previously approved in executive session.
I'll second that motion.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? That's the end of our scheduled old and new business. Any other old and new business? Mr. Kobus.
How are we doing with the publishing of the annual town report? Are we on track?
Yep, so far, yep, we'll have it down to the wire, but we're getting there.
Excellent. And then, a second question, is there any tentative date set for the final walkthrough at Savage Field for the lighting project?
I don't have that. I can look into that. I know the chairman of the building committee and the facility director are kind of handling that at this point. So I know they did send the operating manual in the past, Mesco lighting, the past week or so. So now it was just kind of a final pass. I think the building committee is trying to meet next week. So I think they're going to sign off on the final pay requisition, so I assume they'll be doing that soon.
Excellent. Thank you.
Any other old and new business?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, just something to consider, and maybe we can talk about it at the next meeting. I know there's, the construction going on down High Street. I think it's going to look beautiful when it's done. And there is, concerns. We've talked about it here about like the width of the road, and we know that the width is going to be at least as wide as it was, and the sidewalk's going to be nice. I'm just curious if it would be worth exploring. I mean, right now there's no parking lines down there now. Everyone's just kind of figuring it out. And I'm curious if we could just look into the possibility of making the angle of those parking spaces steeper, just for the sake of being able to make the road more passable for traffic coming and going. It's just a conversation. We don't have to do it. I mean, the project can be mostly finished, and we can kind of go down once, because it's difficult to gauge it now because there's so much construction and there's so much stuff everywhere that you are kind of always kind of squeezing through. But I think once it's done, we'll have a better idea of what we think it looks like. And it's a simple. All it means is that we're painting the lines at a slightly different angle, and we might just be curious to know like how many parking spaces, because it'll be a give and take. So how many parking spaces would we lose versus how much would it buy in the street? And I just think it's something we should consider, just because a lot of people are complaining. I don't know if that doesn't mean that all those complaints are valid. I know that we've talked about finding ways to improve that situation, and I know that the board has voted on multiple occasions that we kind of value more the sidewalk, and that's the intent of the whole design, is to make it good for foot traffic and stuff. But I think it'd be a good exercise in due diligence just to consider that option as we approach the end of the project. That's all.
So just so I'm clear, so when you say it's hard to say because of all the construction, it's hard to say what it's going to look like. So maybe the people who are hitting the panic button about how terrible things are down there should maybe wait till it's done to see it finished. That's what I'm doing. But please, Mr. Conley, get me off this.
Can I just suggest that sometimes things like that have unintended consequences, and the people who design the project and the people who engineer the road and the parking have designed parameters and studies and could instantly answer the question about how much extra space, how sharp you could turn the angle, and how much extra space that might get you or what it might lose you. And I would suggest that you call in the professionals that you have in your service, the civil engineers and the people running the project, and just get their opinion on it.
I've asked him.
Certainly, if it makes it easier to get in and out, gets cars into the spot tighter, it may make good sense. But I know from my experience, when I try to engineer a solution to a problem, there's a whole lot of unintended consequences that come down that the design professionals already have the answers for it.
Yeah, I've asked this question informally, and while I was told we would lose spaces, I wasn't told exactly how many, so I'm happy to follow up on that. I mean, my concern, which shouldn't be a surprise to anybody here or who's paid attention to my thoughts on this, is that we're retrofitting a $4.5 million project in the 11th hour for, you know, it's a project that's supposed to last 20, 30, 50 years, and we're trying to customize it for, you know, the people who have big trucks. I have nothing against big trucks, but it's a downtown for people, and I want people to be able to park there and be able to travel safely. I have zero concern that there is going to be any kind of reduction in traffic safety as a result of this project. In fact, I think it's going to be safer, and I think overall, as I've said before, it's going to be a much more pleasant experience for the people who work and shop and enjoy themselves down there. I'm happy to talk to Phil and the engineers to see what we're talking about as far as a net loss of parking spots. I can't imagine I'm going to support any change in the project at this time, but I would be happy to look into that if it pleases the board.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I echo Mr. Eval's, his intention. I think it's a full gathering. And look at this.
See that coming? Yep. This is what I get.
He's just been nicer to me.
Thank you. Are there any committee reports? Hearing none. This brings us to the end of our agenda and the end of Mr. Connolly's 12-year term on this board. I can't. Sadly, there aren't a whole lot left like Bill, who started, I believe, when he was 19 on Parks and Rec, and worked his way through that board, the school committee, and several other town functions. I promised my therapist I would talk about this, but 4 years ago when I was campaigning, my first campaign, I was knocking on doors. It was hot, like it's going to be this weekend, and I was in his neighborhood, and I wanted to make a good impression because I knew he was on the board. And so I stood up straight and tried to mop up my sweat as much as possible and knocked on the door. And I think he remembers, because I'll never forget. Out of the shadows comes this giant man with blue jeans on, and that's it.
Colorful.
Yeah, it's. He said, well, it's something to the effect of, these are the chances you take when you're, going door to door asking people to consider you. He was very nice and invited me in, and we talked, and that to me has always been Bill. It might not be something you like looking at or something you enjoy seeing, but it's authentically him, and you can count on it being him always. So I'm thankful that in the 4 years since, we've become friends, and I'm proud of the work we've done as the people at the beginning of the meeting spoke, getting this town, continuing to work with our professional staff to keep this town on firm financial footing, fixing our broken tax system. I think we should be immensely proud of the progress he's made, certainly in the time I've been here, and beyond setting the stage for that transformative policy. And I'm going to miss this council. I know he'll always be to my right on a lot of things, but I will miss being able to see him over there every other week. So I want to thank you on behalf of the town.
Here you go.
On behalf of the town, and appreciation for your many years of dedicated public service on numerous boards and committees representing the citizens of the town of Plymouth, Massachusetts. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. witty things to say and do tonight, but I do want to take a moment to thank all the town officials, both past and present, the ones in this room and the ones that I've worked with over the years that have helped me do this job and do it the way that I've done it. Especially Mike Ward. I've had over 12 plus years numerous conversations about random topics, things of importance. And after every single one of those conversations, I didn't walk away without learning something new that I didn't know before. He is a wealth of information and knowledge, and I consider myself knowledgeable about this stuff, this business too, but I've always learned something from the conversations with him. My deepest thanks to the rank and file employees who keep this town running through the toughest of times. Each and every one of you helps make Clinton a better place to live, and I appreciate all of their service. My deepest appreciation is to the voters for putting up with me all these years and giving me this privilege and opportunity to have served. I'll skip over some of my more witty comments, and given that by this time next year, you'll all be known as select people or persons, I claim the title of the last selectman. And that'll be the title of my memoirs too. And all of you will show up in bright spots in those memoirs. And now to paraphrase a notorious former president, as I leave you, I want you to know, just think how much you're going to be missing. You won't have Bill Connolly to kick around anymore because, gentlemen, this is my last press conference. Thank you and good night.
Anything else? Bill had the last say, but Bill's part of the reason that I decided to run for selectman when I ran for the school committee. One of the first things I worked on with Bill and with everyone down here was the facilities department. And it was a pretty contentious, difficult thing, but we found a compromise and we got through it. And it was through that interaction that I thought that, being a selectman would be something that I think would be, that I would want to do. And Bill's been so supportive. Selectman Conley's been so supportive, even when I was on the school board, when I ran for to be a selectman, and the whole time that, as I'm sure he's been with everyone else, he's just any advice. He's a straight shooter, which you don't always see, and even if he disagrees with you, he lets you know up front that he doesn't agree with you, and that's so much appreciated. And it's just the way that he carries himself, and the board and the town is definitely going to be at a loss without his counsel. But I told him he probably still will be fielding some phone calls from us next year when we don't know what to do, because he would have already gone through it and navigated his way through it and be able to help us out. So I just wanted to thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Ed. Mr. Chairman, if I may, I just want to one of my prepared comments for Selectman involved. Ed, in recognition of the passion and energy you present advocating for the things you believe in, I grant you the title of a younger Bill Conley or Bill C version 2.0. That's your title going forward.
Oh, boy.
Because I've appreciated the service with all of you. Ed and I have had frequent conversations, not always on the same page, but the facility department, as an example, wouldn't have happened without his support. And with the rest of you, I really believe I'm leading the board in a very good position with very good members of the board. So the future of the town is in good hands.
Thank you.
Moving on to the motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Our next meeting is June. Town meeting is Monday, the 7th.
at 7 p.m. Town elections are the following Monday, the 14th. Polls are open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. And we will be meeting to start our new year on June 16th. First and third, right? No?
Yeah.
16th. Yeah, 16th.
That's the last, so.
The last of the fiscal year. Yeah. Thank you. Good night.